have an employee just up here in our motor section, Joe Badia, who will give you guys a demonstration of how the high voltage 600 volt motors get tested. So if you want to walk this way with me, and please, if you can, because it is high voltage, stay within the walkways and try not to touch anything, please. There he is. So gather around here, folks. This is Joe. Everybody, my name is Joe. These are CLV motors you're making in the vehicle. These are the motors that drive street cars, single street cars. The other ones are ARVs, articulated. This motor here does the job for two motors. It fits in the truck, and it runs the front axle and the back axle. These are the only motors that do that. The other ones, each one runs a single axle. This motor here is about 2,400 pounds in that condition. When it's fully built, it's about the weight of your car. It does about 2,300 RPMs per minute. They only use about 1/5 of its capability. And it's one of the best motors we have because of its capability that we use because it's stop and go on street cars. It's stop and, one stop to another. You can never bring it up to its potential speed. This is a motor when it comes out of the street car, and I take it apart. This is what comes out of it, which is the armature, the carbons and the brush holders, and all those parts there, the gears, the inside retainers. We have a maintenance program where we try to bring the motors in for preventative maintenance every 3 years so we don't have any catastrophic failures. We don't want a catastrophic failure because it takes about 10 times the amount of money and the amount of man work and to overturn and put it back into the car. So we try not to make them catastrophic failures. So we do preventative maintenance where the grease has to be changed every so many kilometers or working hours on them. When we take it apart, it goes for washing, it goes for all testing and everything, gauging, electrical, make sure that everything is up to spec. By the time it goes through all the different processes and stuff like that, it takes about a week and a half to get it back to this stage. When we take the motor out of a car, the same motor doesn't go back in, we have spares. So the street car can go back out. So we have spare motors that go back in. We'll take this one out today and tomorrow we'll put the next one in so the street car can go back out. So not all the street cars don't get the same motors back. Basically it takes about 3.5 to 2 days to put this together and about a day to take that apart. And then it goes through all the different processes. We do balancing all the electrical system, all kinds of testing. We try to put this motor out that it's 100%. When I built this motor, if there's anything wrong with it, before I put it out, I'll have to try to fix it. We don't want to put it back in the car because too many man hours of work. So we'll do everything here. I got this one hooked up to electrical to see how it runs and the rotation on it. Out of circulation with these street cars within the next 5 years as they get the new ones. They're in the phase of changing over. Your street cars are getting rid of these. They want to keep these around for the Can-Am games. And by the time we do a turnover, because the slow process, you can't just get rid of the one street cars, you can't run into one set. So it takes about 5 years for that process to work through. Any questions?
Happy to get this.
How many of those are
we have 200 streetcars. How many motors are there?
Hi folks, this is the axle section here. Here we recondition and rebuild axles and gearboxes when the time comes for that. These gearboxes, they were original equipment, 1978 to 82. Most of them were rebuilt 2 or 3 times. This one is a rebuild here, for instance. This is a brand new axle, came from South Africa. New disc brake, and the coupling has been reconditioned and we've rebuilt that. So over here are the 3 components, major components of a CLRB wheel. You have the hub, you have the tire, and you have the cheek plate. Now they're connected together. This tire will rest solely on this without touching that hub. This is metal on both sides, it's steel, and it's rubber on the center. Then this cheek plate comes over and it will rest on that without actually touching anything. It will be isolated electrically from the rest of it. It's called the Resilient SAV wheel, and it's supposedly quieter, and it is. We've been using them since, I think, 88. The only connection between the streetcar and the road is through this little strap. And this strap comes up from there and comes through this hole and is attached here. And it's called a ground strap because if it was struck by lightning, if there was a surge in the car, you have to get rid of the excess electricity. So it will bleed off through the tire into the ground without damaging it. And each of the tracks are isolated enough, so it probably will not do any damage. Yes. No, CLRB streetcar. Those subway wheels are much heavier. So this piece over here is a streetcar. This is called the coupling. It's the card and joint assembly. This is the driver. It goes here. This part with the little teeth on it, there are corresponding teeth over on the gearbox, and they're attached there. This is the hollow shaft. So when the motor is attached to it, it rotates everything and it turns it. One would think that this would be geared to the gearbox, but it's not. A solid axle. It's solid from one end to the other. It has to be isolated because the tracks are never even. And a solid axle would break if it hit a brake or it got damaged or it hit a broken rail, it would immediately snap. So it's not designed for that. What it is designed is this joint assembly makes the car go around, and it also gives it all the flexibility it needs to go around a turn. So you can see that they flex. Wow. And it makes it pretty good. It's 1,800 pounds, and well, I can do that. but that gives it just enough to go around it. The radius on a streetcar is 400 feet. By that, in order for the streetcar to make a complete circle, the minimum distance would be 400 feet. It doesn't turn that well. You'll sometimes hear them squeal when they're going in St. Clair or a few other stations. It's because these tires, although they start off at, I think, 110 pounds, by the time they're finished, they've lost about 30% of their weight because they've dropped from this thick down to this thick. And they can crack if they go much further than that. But we have a preventative maintenance program. When they get to a certain point, they're taken out of service.
A brand new tire is 659 millimeters tall.
Well, I did not know that, but I don't work in millimeters. I'm old school.
Here you go.
But
when the streetcar tire becomes too small, it is in and around the 610 millimeters.
and they can crack. If it goes below that, they can crack. They can hit a bump and actually put a little thing. I don't think we've had one in years. Yes, sir.
What do you do with it when it's so skinny?
When it's what?
When it's so skinny, what do you do?
Oh, they're strapped. There's no longer any point. They're taken out of service and they're putting the strap. And we put this in, the new one. What's that? Now, I'm getting to this. This is the best part, right? So when we get this tire together, it's about 200 pounds. We hang it, we bring it over, and it's put on the end of the axle. Goes on this position here. We put a sleeve over top of this, which you can't see because it's under the tire, and it's pushed to this spot where it's at right now. We start pushing it. It goes to 55 tons of pressure, 70 tons to 80 tons. It could be anything. We can't go over 120. We have to make 32 minimum, and it's pushed on. But 32 minimum, 120 tons doesn't even push this pressure. It's a 250 ton press. By that, I mean it's 3,200 pounds per square inch. So your square inch, for those of you who are still doing metric, like Joe over there, is about that size. And that's the weight of a Honda Civic on that one area. It's 156 Honda Civics. It's 10 CLRB streetcars. That's how much weight is being pushed on that object when you push it to the full extent.
So I guess when the tires get worn down, they get replaced with new ones.
They get replaced with new ones. They get to a certain point and then they're useless. We can't use them. It's actually, we're very experienced in what we do. We've done this for a long time. A new tire, everything is expensive that we do here. Because of the parts that are coming from, in this case, Pennsylvania, from Montreal. This part, Germany, $300 for each of them. We never throw them away. We fix them.
Why couldn't you do it in-house?
We could do this in-house, but at this point, these cars have a life of 5 more years. We have enough old ones so we don't have to replace it. And if we did, it would be done here. It's a lot cheaper than getting $300. So, any questions, folks?
The actuators, track motors, send them out to the various sections in the shop where they get refurbished. They come back here, not to the refurbished, we get a team tag. And when they get back here, we get some process from stripping to reassembly. It takes about 5 days or 10 days. And it's repeated on a 5-year basis for every vehicle. The reason being is after 5 years, the wheels start to get too thick, and it makes them dangerous to use. Easily derail. The motors go down, and various parts need to be changed. Unlike the vehicle at home, these vehicles run 724. By the time it's between here, this tractor is probably has 1 million miles on it, running all day, right? And basically, like I said, it takes about every 5 years to go through the process. And we've got these vehicles for 35 years, and we're still carrying on with the process. Yeah. You know what? Even the body, we have a embodiment here. This is the actual truck aspect of the bodies of the vehicles. They're maintained by body people. They replace the flooring, the framing, everything on that vehicle has redone. We'll have a look at some of the pictures if you walk by. They look like they just left the showroom, but they're not as pristine. But not too far off. As reliable vehicle is. They can go forever. Not at least 100 years. Look at the wood grain. And it's going to be